So, a friend asked me to speak about acceptance, which is, for me, this is the core and the bedrock of this spiritual program of recovery. And we use the term surrender and we use the term acceptance so frequently that I know for me, it's like there's an assumption that I know what that means. I know how to practically use it. But there's very little, I know for me, there's very little talk about what exactly does that mean and how does that look for me. And I've had to do some of my own work on acceptance, on surrender. And what I found is actually the longer I'm in program, I need to deepen what that means. And the definition and the practice of surrender when I came in and I was here for 1 year, it's very different than I'm here today, you know, uh, 12 and a half years later. So, so first of all, for me, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about acceptance and surrender and how that is practical in my life and how that ties into to this program of recovery. Um, for me, the core of my problem is not sexual. It's that's not the core of my issue. The core of my issue is that I have a spiritual illness, and what that means is very simply is that I have a physical body, and it needs air, and it needs water, and it needs food, and it needs sleep. And when I provide it with those things, then I am functioning human being. I have something called a spiritual heart, and this is not poetry. This is not. This is very, very practical. It's actually located for me. I don't know where it's for you. For me, it's located right here in the middle. It's called my spiritual heart, and through here is where I can have a connection to a higher power. Now, what we're going to talk about is a little difficult because um, if I've never, if I've never smelled before in my life, I can sit and talk about how the sense of smell is like. But my brain, which is my intellect, does not have the ability or the capacity to appreciate and to understand smell. The only thing that has the ability and the capacity to appreciate and understand smell is my nose. That's the only ingredient. It's the only instrument. When I talk about spirituality, when I talk about connection to a higher power, and I use my brain to understand it, it doesn't work because my brain is logical. My brain does not have the ability or the capacity to appreciate and to sense and to detect spiritual energy. That is my spiritual heart. That's the instrument, that's the organ that can feel it. For me, my problem is that my heart, my spiritual heart, naturally is closed. Naturally, it's shut off. Naturally, it's hard and it's frozen. It's not working. And maybe for other people it's naturally open, I don't know. For me, it's not. And it's literally, I like to give a lot of metaphors because it makes it easier to appreciate, but it's literally like a fan. If I take a fan, it's a wonderful instrument, but it needs energy. If it doesn't have energy, it doesn't matter how sophisticated it is, it ain't going nowhere. So what I need to do is I need to find the plug, to plug it in. And the second I plug it in, energy flows in, and it's wow, this thing lights up, and it's alive, and it does amazing things. I'm the same way. I need spiritual energy to feel alive, to feel awake, to feel hopeful, to feel joy, to feel peace. When I don't have that energy, I feel dead. I feel deflated. I feel hopeless. I feel dark. Everything is difficult, everything is dark and gloomy. That's the spiritual nourishment. My plug is very loose and it keeps on falling out. That's the reality. And what happens is that my natural state is disconnection. That's my natural state. And when I'm disconnected and I feel low spiritual nourishment, I am naturally spiritually malnourished. So I'm starving for energy. I'm starving for connection. I'm starving for something to light me up. So I'll go to lust. I'll go to food. I'll go to movies. I'll go to work. I'll go to anything that has flashing bright lights, because maybe I could import and maybe I can substitute it, but it always leaves me feeling more empty. And the work I need to do is I need to pick up my plug and put it back into the outlet. I need to do that spirit. That's why we put so much emphasis on connection, right? On connection with other people, on connection with a higher power. This is what I need, and the moment I feel that sense of connection, it doesn't matter how long my fan was in the closet gathering dust, for 1 day or for 10 years. The moment I plug it in, boom, it's working again. And that's the beauty. The moment I connect spiritually and I open my heart and that spiritual energy comes in, I'm alive again. So lust is so, like I've asked this my question to myself, what's wrong with lust? What's so wrong with lust? This is not a religious program, so what's so wrong with lust? Especially if it's not abusive, if it's everyone agrees. The problem for lust for me is lust is acid. It's like pouring acid on my plug. It's an automatic disconnector. It closes up my heart. That's why I isolate. That's why I hide. That's why I lie. That's why I disconnect from people, from God, from myself. Because lust is like poison. Because it's like acid. It destroys my ability to connect. And that's why even a little bit of lust is so dangerous, because I already have a loose plug in the first place, right? So that's why I need to be so careful to protect it. So what's a spiritual, so for me, the spiritual program is all about one thing and one thing only. It's about repairing my spiritual heart to make sure that I have a constant, strong connection. But how does that work? So it works very simply. And for me, God is a gentleman. He only comes where he's invited, and he only stays where he's made to feel welcome. So I can go to a million meetings and I can pray. I could pray all I want. But if my actions are such that I don't let God in, so I pray, God comes to the door, but I never open the door for him. And for me, the way it works is it's really very simple. In step 3, I say, God, please come and take over. So he shows up to my front door. The lights are out. There's no sign by the door. The door's locked. So he stands there. He's waiting to come in. What that means is step 4. Step 4 is an x-ray. It's an x-ray to see all the places in me that is holding God out, which means self-will. All the places where I want to run the show and I don't want to be open to his plan. Because how can I get rid of it if I don't know where self-will shows up? So every resentment is another case of me not getting my will in the past. So I cannot handle the fact that my will was not done in the past, justified or not. I'm still holding on to me. So that's another case or another incident or another scenario where I'm keeping God out. Every fear is me not getting my will in the future. I'm so afraid that my will won't happen in the future. So I could be full of fear. All of these fears are keeping a connection not possible because I am in control. Every self-pity is my will not happening right now. That's just a reality. Justified, not justified. The bottom line is if I am cooking in my self-pity, so in step 4, I take such an x-ray, and I had tens and tens and tens. So I could pray and do step 3 on my knees until my knees are bleeding. But the bottom line is, in my actions, I'm keeping the door closed. So God's showing up and He can't come in. If He can't come in, I still have that disconnect. In fact, that disconnect, I'm spiritually malnourished. All step 4 is an x-ray to see all the places I'm keeping Him out. The rest of the steps is a program of action of letting go. Letting it go. What does it mean to let go? It means that I am surrendering my right to have my will done. When I do that, I do something very powerful. I let go of the blockage and I allow the flow of God into my heart. Now, it's not all or nothing, right? I don't have to get rid of everything in order. It's to the extent that I let go, is the extent that I feel spiritual energy, is the extent I feel more alive, more connected, more calm. Mm-hmm. So it's a progressive journey that, in fact, for me, this is a lifetime event. So acceptance and surrender is the key of letting go of the things which are blocking me from a connection to a higher power. That's the key. That's the tool the shovel that I can get rid of the things which are holding me back. Because the bottom line is, my will makes me resist something in my life. There's something in my life, whether it's a person, whether it's a situation, whether it's something about me that I don't like, and I am resisting it. I am closing my heart to it, and in my heart, I reject it. It's not acceptable. It's not okay. This is not how it should be or can be. And when I do that, I am resisting God's plan for me. So my heart closes, and I don't have that connection. And the opposite of that is literally taking a step back and letting it go and not resisting and embracing the way it's supposed to be. This is the key for resentment, for fear, for self-pity. The bottom line is, it's letting go of something in my life, past, present, or future, that I am resisting. For me, I had a lot of shame. I had a lot of shame about my MOs in the beginning of when I came into the program. Shame for me is me not accepting something about me. Could be my MOs. It's unacceptable that I should have such an MO. It's unacceptable that I should have a certain tendency. It's unacceptable that I should be in a bad mood this morning. I'm not a morning person. Whenever I come to the meetings in the morning, it's painful because I can't handle looking at people in the morning. I hate that. I want to be this chippery, happy-go-lucky guy who walks in and smiles at people. So I could start to beat myself up, start judging myself that there's something about me that's not okay. Basically, I'm saying that, God, you don't know what you're talking about. And I have a better idea of how it should be. So I'm resisting how you made me. And when I close my heart to that, then I cannot have a connection. The entire program is one thing for me, and that's surrender. We start with surrender of lust. but that's only the prelude. It's not even the first chapter. Because what happens is, in order for me to have I want to have as open a heart as possible. As possible. And now again, that's a lifetime work. But I need to learn to practice surrender and acceptance as a way of life. It starts with lust, but then it goes on to every little thing, whether it's the way my wife looked at me or didn't look at me, the way my kids act or don't act, the weather outside, the way someone else in program shares and I don't like the way he shares. All it goes on and on and on and on. The bottom line is, am I resisting something in my life? I just want to end off with what does surrender and acceptance look like for me? And we talk a lot about, I know for me, I approach acceptance and surrender many times intellectually. Intellectually, I understand that I'm not running the show. And intellectually, I understand that if I look back at my experience, no matter how hard I tried to control everything, it never worked. So logically, it makes sense that I should let go. All of this makes sense logically. Surrender for me is not an intellectual exercise. It's a spiritual exercise, which means it's very nice if it makes sense up here, but that's not where surrender has to happen. Surrender is an exercise of my heart. So for me to do this work, I'm just going to very briefly describe it, and we could talk about it later more at length. The first thing I need to do is I need to be present. Because if I am running at 400 miles an hour with my brain spinning in 14,000 different ways, I can't surrender. I can't let go. I'm not even present. The first thing I need to do is pause. Pause. Literally stop everything that I'm doing, pause, and bring my full awareness to the present moment. The plug. I want to connect my plug into the outlet. Imagine it's the middle of the night and I wake up and my plug fell out and I'm trying to plug it in and I can't find the plug and I keep on banging into the wall, right? Until I finally find the outlet. My plug into my higher power, I'm trying to find him. Where is he? Where is he? I want to plug into him. You know where he is? He's right here, right now. That's where he is. He's right here, right now. If I'm not here, not now, so then I can't plug into him. So for me to surrender to him, so I could connect to him and open my heart to him, I need to pause and get present. That's number one. And then number two is I literally bring my awareness to where in me am I resisting. Where I could literally sense where I'm resisting, and it's usually somewhere in here. I am closing up, tightening up, that this is not okay. And I literally, in my mind, take a step back and just watch it come and go. I don't talk to it. I don't convince it. I don't negotiate and debate it. I don't try to control it because I can't control it. It's just like lust. I cannot control it. I just watch the discomfort, watch the noise, watch the resistance come and go. That's what surrender means. It means that I'm watching something and I can't manage it and I just let it go without trying to control it and manage it. It's like smoke. It will dissipate on its own. So I don't have to try to contain it and control it and manage it. I can't manage smoke. It sounds, again, if I'm trying to understand what I'm saying with my head, then it's going to sound very strange. This has to be experienced. Recovery, surrender, acceptance has to be experienced. This is not an intellectual exercise. It's a very practical exercise. And the more I practice this, the more it becomes a way of life. It takes practice, practice, practice. And what I have found is, no matter how much I've surrendered, there's always more to surrender, and God wants me to give up more of me. But the more of me I empty out, the more of Him He could come in. So my hope and prayer is that we start to practice so that our hearts can stay open today and that we can feel His beautiful energy and love and light. Thank you.